That sound can mean only one thing.
It's the Out of Bounds Show. Power Hour.
Just go ahead and do it.
Delivering to you the best sports analysis on all SEC and NFL football action an hour earlier than ever before. Yes, from Hail State to Hottie Toddy. Don't miss the interviews and hot takes that will make you the office sports guru. The Out of Bounds Power Hour.
So powerful it can penetrate any known material.
Weekdays 6 to 7 a.m. right here on the Zone.
Cole Kubelik, SEC Network, Jackson Birmingham, played at Auburn. He joins us on the Modelo guest line. So what do you like to do better? Do you like your radio show better, or do you like TV better? Which one's your favorite?
They both have their benefits, and I think a lot of that would depend on when. Here's the benefit of television is when I'm doing anything via television, it's never downtime. I mean, it's always important, so to speak, which my radio show is important every day. But like we just talked about, the month after SEC Media Days, I mean, you're kind of stretching for content a little bit. Now, me personally, like pandemic radio, like I loved it. I love just BS radio. Like, let's come up with something fun that nobody's thinking about. And like we talked about BMI on my show for about 20, 30 minutes yesterday.
I saw your tweet.
If that would have just been my show that I used to have in Huntsville, I would have probably spent an hour and a half on it. Just because, I can remember Archie Shea and on my show in Huntsville, one of the best segments that we did that turned into almost an hour is like we debated dinosaur fights on the show. So we drafted dinosaurs, and like he took Triceratops, I took Brontosaurus, and like we basically gave our reasons that our dinosaur would win. And it was hilarious. Like, it was stupid, but it was hilarious. So, I can make it work just about any time. The thing with television is it's always a big deal. It's a live football game. You know, I'm able to see things from a different perspective if I'm at the game. That's always more important. If I'm in studio talking about something, we're either reviewing or previewing something that's important. It's a big deal. It's happening now. So probably television, just because of the moment that I'm usually in, 99.9% of the time, just feels bigger than what it does a lot of the times when I'm doing radio.
No, that makes sense. What was it, Cole Kubelik on the Out of Bounds Show, Modelo guest line, SEC Network, Jackson, Birmingham. I'm a big Scott Van Pelt fan, and I love him on TV, but I loved him on radio. It killed me when he left. What was it like to do the Scott Van Pelt Show?
Beyond cool, because I'm like you. Whether it was him on his own or he and Rosillo, one of the reasons that I always loved them was, they were kind of the only part of the ESPN radio lineup that talked college football, and you could tell that they watched it because they were passionate about it. We're all kind of the same age. I had the same taste in music as those guys do. I think he and I are sort of self-deprecating in the same ways, or at least a lot of similar ways. And just you see somebody sort of rise to where he is. And I'll be honest, like I have extremely high goals in life, but there are things that you look at and they just don't really seem attainable. Like I'm never doing Monday Night Football. Like I know that. I'm comfortable saying that, and I'm not mad about that. It's just I realize that. I would have never told you that I thought I'd be sitting next to him at his desk doing his Sports Center show. Like I just didn't think it was real. And I owe Stanford Steve a gigantic thank you for that. He's the one that went to bat for me. He's the one that fought for me. He's the one that said, we really need to get my guy in here. Like, he knows it better than anybody. He knows these teams better than anybody. And, he's the reason I was able to do it. But, he is as cool as you would think he is. Like, he is just that guy that you love to sit down at the bar and chop it up with, or you'd love to watch a game with. Probably not a Maryland basketball game, because I think he's a little bit of a different person when he's watching that. But he is, it was just like, it was surreal. I'll say this, like a lot of times we want to know how many people are listening. Like I'm sure you have certain time, like you'll do an interview and you're like, man, I wonder how many people heard that, because that was really good.
Sure.
Like, I do that all the time. Like, I really need a lot of people to have heard that. Or when we're doing a game and I'll do a good hit, or we'll have a great game, and not like the three of us have just collectively a great call, and there's a good ending, and you're just thinking, I really hope a lot of people flipped over and saw that, because that was good TV, that was good football, that was a good game. Like, it all came together. Never in my life have I been more assured that a lot of people were watching than when I did his show after the playoff games and after the championship game, because I don't think my phone stopped until about 11:30 the next day. It was literally rapid fire, tweets, texts, calls, got people I hadn't heard from for 10, 15 years. and you're like, okay, now I see why this is the highest rated show that ESPN has
Sure.
from a non-live sporting event perspective, because everybody watches this guy. And it helps to have that audience coming in from the playoffs, but still, it was a surreal, very cool moment that hopefully we'll get to do again. I've done it a few times since, did it during the pandemic, and did a little XFL hit when I was up there before that. And, this last football season was obviously very different, but hopefully we're getting back to normal and can do it again.
Yeah, man. SVP's a dude. Iconic.
There's one of his podcasts out there. If you can go back and find it, I don't know exactly which one it is, but he talks about, I think he's in Vegas for a tournament, and he legitimately runs out of money. Like, he's done. He's out. And he's like, well, we had a good run, and it was fun while we did it. And then, a couple things happened, and he ended up catching on with ESPN, and, the rest is history. But, yeah, it's an amazing story to think about where he came from and where he is now.
It is. So you're doing a lot of cool stuff. We just mentioned some of it. SEC Network, Jocks, all that. You're doing more sideline than play-by-play. Is the next step for Cole Kubelik you want to do full-time booth play-by-play?
Color, not play-by-play.
I mean, I'm sorry, color. Yeah.
No, it's all good. I mean, listen, I did play-by-play during the Mississippi State-Kentucky game from the sideline when
that's
Tom
right. When you lost that, I remember that. I was watching that game, and you handled it well.
By the way, I have pitched it to them for me to do that for an entire game, and maybe not like a regular season game, but
that would be great.
Like a mega cast or something like that. Like, just give me a camera, give me a handheld, give me a microphone, and like let's just tell people what I see from down there.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can make that happen one day. I think the natural progression obviously is to be in the booth. A lot of it has to do with who I'm with. Like, if I'm with Jordan and Tom, I really don't mind staying down there. I don't mind staying down there at all.
That's a good team,
especially with those two, because we have those guys have legitimately become my family. Tom knows my wife. Tom knows my kids. He comes by my house when he's driving to Starkville to do games, or coming to Birmingham to go to Tuscaloosa and do a game, like when we were doing that. So, I mean, like, those guys are my extended family. You're with them as much as you are. You talk to them as much as you do. Those guys know more about me than a lot of my old friends do, just because I've spent so much time with them. And those games are so much fun with those guys. Like, it's just, I rarely walk away with any complaints or hard feelings, or, not feeling satisfied or vilified with what we did. Like, it's an easy product to share with everybody else involved. And that's not something that a lot of crews have.
Sure.
There's a lot of crews that don't even get along. Like, they don't want to hang out with the guys that they have. Like, we like to get to where we're going early and stay late so we can hang out a little bit more. But the natural progression is to be up there. And I feel like a big portion of my value is that I see the game in a very different way. And there are a lot of things that I miss when I'm on the sideline. There are a lot of things that I can't see that I would love to explain to people. And I would love to try to help people understand how and why they happen, that a lot of other folks don't spend time on. A lot of the quarterbacks are, when you hear them calling a game, they'll be like, oh, so-and-so, nice move off the end to get there. Or, oh, left guard just gets beat. And it's like, no, man, it didn't happen that way. There's actually a reason that rusher was able to come free. Or no, they actually didn't have enough bodies to pick up the protection, or the way they slid the protection, they weren't going to be able to pick that up. Or, there was a move that got the guy beat, or there was a flaw in the tackle's technique as to why he got beat. Like, I love pointing that stuff out because it's rarely focused on and discussed. So I feel like I call the game in a little bit of a different way. Some people don't like it. I've had some of my bosses text me at certain times and be like, dude, you just had a 45 pass to the tight end. You're talking about the left tackle. And I'm like, they don't make that pass if the left tackle doesn't do what he did. So, I mean, yeah, I know you want to follow the ball. You want that. You want the highlight part of that play, but I'm giving you why the play was actually able to be successful, because that play doesn't go if he doesn't come off that block and pick up that blitzer. Like, that's just the reality of it. So, I feel like hopefully one day that'll happen. I'm not sitting here, banging on the door saying it has to happen right this second, because I do like the guys that I'm with now. But, it's ever changing. I just want to do more. I mean, my desire is to do more. I want to do more in studio. I want to do more games. I want to do games during the week. I want to do multiple games. Like, I want to work. And that has been my sales pitch to everybody at ESPN since I've gotten there, is just put me to work. You want me to go cover something else? I mean, hell, I'll do sideline for basketball if you want me to. I'll go stand in a baseball field and give you some commentary, what I see from baseball. Like I just want to do more. And as long as I'm getting opportunities to do more, I'm going to be.
Jackson.
You ready?
Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live in the Bank Plus studio, where college football meets the Y'all lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds, streaming around the world live at the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
Where are you?
The Zone.
Oh, man. Jeff Jones in the house. Award-winning pitmaster and award-winning rubs and sauces. You can go to jonesyq.com. That's jonesyq.com. Order any of the rubs or sauces. Promo code OOB show. We'll pay for the shipping $20 or more. All right. Ecstasy, Money Honey, Cow Pal, Love Rub, among many others. Jeff Jones is cooking elk burgers downstairs on the Gourmet Guru grill. He made some homemade potato chips with ecstasy rub. That's his multi-purpose seasoning, although I would also argue that Love Rub is a little bit of that too. And the burgers look great. He just slapped some bacon on there. Holy smokes. Anybody that's walking into Beagle Bagel, their feelings are going to be hurt. And, of course, all of this is also brought to you by Modelo, the beer of choice on the Out of Bounds show. Modelo Especial, fantastic beer, and Modelo Negra, phenomenal beer. Both are great. We're so excited to have Modelo with us for the next 8 months or 9, whatever's left in the calendar year. Hopefully it goes over into 2022. But National Burrito Day has to be brought to you by Modelo. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Hey, it's game day tonight, Duty Noble Field. And so pregame and postgame, Two Brothers Smoked Meats. Wings, street tacos, sliders, drinks. Two Brothers, new buildings, amazing. Balconies, outside areas everywhere. Two Brothers in the historic Cotton District. Also want to give a shout out to Welcome Home Beef. Blake's going to do a beef tenderloin tonight from Welcome Home Beef. I just shipped 4 fillets and 2 ribeyes to Tom Luganville. He was a happy camper.
Not to me?
No.
Tough.
But I'm going to hook you up.
Yeah, I got to fight for what I can get.
With some steaks.
Scrapping. I got to cook those beef ribs.
Would you describe yourself as scrappy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a fighter.
I mean.
Listen, see, it's deceptive. I'm one of those guys where I get off the bus and you go, oh, that guy can't throw cheese. He's got no arm strength. Like, I'm going to smash home runs off this guy. And then I'm throwing, like, ephus pitches and air-bending changeups and everything's 65 miles an hour, but you can't touch it.
Air-bending, kind of like what I threw at the Embrace.
That's right. That's a new so that's a new pitch in Major League Baseball. Did you know?
Let me write that down.
It's called the air bender.
Air bender.
It's. I'm serious. This is a coined phrase from Pitching Ninja, who's fantastic. Rob Freeman. He is amazing. So pitching.
Isn't he out of Cincinnati?
I'd have to look. He's a big Yankees fan,
Jeff
so I thought he was up there.
Okay.
I thought he was in New York, but I could be wrong. He's a huge Yankees guy.
Is he? I want to say the Pitching Ninja is out of Cincinnati.
That might be
Ohio.
right. That might be
but
right.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to look. I'm working on getting us an interview with him through some people who know him. So, but it's this new changeup called the Airbender, and it's like a different way you grip it, and it is electric in terms of what it looks like. It is impossible to hit.
Really?
So, yeah.
So basically, I started this a couple of years ago.
That's right.
When I threw out the first pitch, since I'm a lefty.
I would say that's probably accurate.
I mean, did you see how much my ball broke? I mean, it was like falling off a table.
Yeah. Yeah. It was electrifying.
And the M-Braves catcher didn't have to move.
Yeah.
Literally, he didn't move his glove. That's it.
It's electric.
Well, that's talent. But ice water in the veins, whatever.
So let me ask you this. Let's just go ahead and get right to it. We have Ole Miss taking on Florida in Gainesville. That's a top 5 matchup. We've got Mississippi State hosting Kentucky.
Did you see where O'Sullivan's benching two of their starters?
Yeah, Tommy Mace and Leftwich. But here, hold on. I think that's a little misleading.
Tell me what's happening.
I think he's going with this new age analytical approach of what they call the opener. Have you seen that? So it's an inverse way of pitching. It's throwing a guy who specializes in high intensity, high leverage. You throw him for the first inning or two, and then you bring your starter in.
Interesting.
This is not the first.
Could you do that with Sarantola?
Well, that's the question. The question is, could Sarantola, does he need the inning to get ready, or is it the first inning, right? Like, if you bring him in the third, is he still going to struggle in the third inning because it's the first inning he pitches? Or is it truly a mental aspect of if you start him, he can't pitch well, but if you bring him off the pen, he could? I don't know.
He'll probably be starting for the Washington Nationals 4 years from now.
Throwing
and it'll
like
just make
104.
Mississippi State fans want to puke. And I'm sure Lamonis and Foxhall are, beating their head against the wall because they know how talented he is. Cole Gordon caught a bullpen from him.
He's incredible.
And said that it was filthy.
Yes.
His stuff was nasty.
Yeah. You see him throw a pitch every now and then in the game where you go, holy cow, that's major league stuff.
Yeah.
But
my daughter was sitting with me and she asked me what was wrong with him.
She told her that's
she was being very. She would
question.
never even take a shot at a player. Okay, so
no,
she was just confused. She was like,
"Why?"
She loves baseball, which is awesome for me. Okay, but she just very casually looked over at me. She went, What's wrong with that guy?"
Well,
I was like, I didn't know what else to say other than he's got control problems.
Is there a more mental?
He's got control issues. He can't throw a strike.
Is there a more mentally taxing sport or position than being the pitcher in baseball?
No.
It is the single most spotlighted position in all of sports,
because
right?
we've talked about this. Baseball is so funky. You're out there by
yourself.
You
the only
may
thing.
as well be on an island.
Yep.
I don't care how close the first baseman is to you. Second, short, third. Dude, you pitched, I pitched, lower. I mean, dude, even then, when you're out there,
it's you and nobody else.
Dude, you feel like you are a million miles. I don't care how close your manager is, your catcher, whatever. And so, dude, when things start getting bad, I mean, look, I gave up an enormous amount of runs in an all-star game my ninth grade year, okay? And I got brought in to pitch, and it was pitiful.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, it was one of those things that I just couldn't get it right.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there going, what in the hell is going on?
There may not be an individual activity more difficult than the two things you do in baseball: pitch a baseball and hit a baseball.
Right.
I don't know if there's a more difficult single thing to do in an athletic event.
I couldn't agree with you more. It is extremely difficult. And in our league on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when you get the ball, dude, you can feel it in the ball. You can feel it in Swayze. You can feel it in Duty Noble, in Alex Box, whatever.
Let me tell you something. The intensity tonight in Duty Noble and the anxiety is going to be high.
Yeah, and you lost this mega alpha leader in Mangum, and you didn't really play last year. And it's going to be interesting because this is not an excuse, but there's a lot of pressure playing at Duty Noble. And you're right. They really haven't faced adversity in a long time. I say that. Going out to Texas and winning wasn't easy. Going down to Alex Box wasn't easy. I don't want to take away.
They took two from Texas Tech last year at the end of the season. They were reeling, and they took two.
But
from Tech.
Know what I mean. You're 0-3. Your in-state rivals 6-0. I mean 0-3 last weekend. There's a lot going on. There will be an edge of your seat feel tonight.
Correct.
And for McLeod, he'll know it. He'll feel it. He's not dumb. And I don't know who the guy's going to be. If it's going to be it seems to me that Tanner Allen is starting to
step into
that role, maybe. But it's extremely difficult, man.
Yeah.
The shadow of Mangum is not something to take lightly, and I mean that as a compliment to Jake.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. And I think I'd argue that shadow may extend a little.
I mean, when Eli Manning and Dak Prescott left the building, what happened?
But I'd argue that shadow extends to the coaching staff too. Though.
Yeah. But so I think you're onto something. I think that you'll be able to cut the pressure and the tension, with a very dull spoon tonight at Duty Noble Field. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Jeff Jones is in the house. Jonesy Q, cooking elk burgers. Hang with us. Boar's Head is the premium brand of deli meats and cheeses for the Out of Bounds Show. Boar's Head is the go-to for the Bounds family for deli meats, cheeses, and hummus. You can find Boar's Head at grocery stores throughout the state of Mississippi. Boar's Head started in 1905 and is still family-owned and operated. For lunch, a charcuterie spread or game day. Boar's Head, compromise elsewhere. Deli meats, cheeses, hummus. Boar's Head for game day.
Smart.
This is the SEC Insider Hit, brought to you by Capital Preservation Services, the tax planning team that helps business owners earn more and keep more.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Driven by your next John Deere tractor at Mississippi Ag, 16 locations. 2 in the metro area, Canton and Pearl. Mississippi Ag for your next John Deere tractor for your family land, hunting camp, or farm. Agup.com to find a retail location nearest you. Our guests join us on the Modelo guest line. We welcome in Jeff Duncan, Saints insider, columnist for The Athletic, and his new book out, Peyton and Breeze, The Men Who Built the Greatest Offense in NFL History. Jeff, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, Bo. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I appreciate you jumping on. Let's talk a little life after Breeze, and then I want to discuss the book that you wrote. So, Jeff, this is a Saints town, and I have a lot of friends who are gung-ho, black and gold, either season ticket holders or drive down several times a year. I don't really think that they know what's going to happen here with life after Breeze, because I think it's easy to say we've been winning, we'll continue to win. And I know that Sean is special and won with Teddy Bridgewater and other guys the last 2 years, Taysom Hill and so on. But when I say life after Breeze and what the Saints could look like this year, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, Jeff?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think people have to remember a couple of things. One, they won those games, went 8-1 with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill, but Breeze was still on the team. In other words, his influence was still there in the building. And I think they're going to miss most of what they're going to miss most about Drew Brees are the intangibles that the truly great players and athletes have. All the work ethic, the drive, the commitment to excellence, all these things you hear about, they were very real with Drew Brees, and they lifted everyone else in the building. There's like an infectiousness to a great player behind the scenes that spreads to the coaching staff, to his teammates, to the equipment managers. I've talked to people in the business operations that said the minute Drew Brees walked into this building in 2006, everybody felt more confident. Everybody had their chest out because suddenly they had a dude, they had a guy, a leader. And I think there's going to be a vacuum created from that once he leaves, and people won't even notice it. It's like osmosis. They won't even know it's gone. But I think that's the biggest fear if I'm just watching this team up close. How do they replace a Hall of Fame player like that? We saw what happened in New England last year when Tom Brady left. They brought in Cam Newton, who's a great player, was an MVP. They have a great coaching staff, and we saw the drop-off. So let's just see how this plays out, because I do think it's going to be fascinating to watch.
Do you go in depth? I like where you just went there with Drew Brees' influence in the building, his intangibles, how they were infectious, just his presence made a franchise that had not really won feel like that they belonged and could win. Do you do a deep dive into that, Jeff? Your book
told me this story, an anecdote about how when they go to put the game plan together on Monday nights and Tuesdays for an upcoming opponent. He said they may have a running play they want to run. Let's just hypothetically say the Falcons are getting ready to play. And he said they were going to put this run in that they would think will be successful against the Falcons. And looking at tape of the Falcons defense, when they normally defend this type of will go into, depending on the personnel package the opponent uses and the formation. And he said there might be an answer in our offensive game plan for 39 of those 40 looks. He said, but there might be one look that if they get it, walk the free safety in this thing and personnel package, that they kind of got us outflanked. And he said most teams would just say, you know what, that's a 1 in 40 chance that that's going to happen. We'll just run the ball into that bad look, and we might not gain anything. We might lose a yard. We might gain a yard, whatever. He said with Drew Brees as your quarterback, you have to have an answer for that 1 in 40 chance.
Wow.
And he said they will spend an hour in that offensive meeting room coming up with an answer for that 1 in 40 chance that they might even run the play. And if they do run it, it probably won't even get that look. But that's the standard of excellence that he drives everyone else in the building. And that is what I think they're going to miss.
I love that stuff. That story, right? That is incredible, Jeff.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just shows you the level of work they put in a game plan with Drew Brees as their quarterback.
Wow. I wonder how much of that Jameis Winston picked up on in the last.
It sounds like a lot. It just hearing him talk, it sounds like a lot. But let's see if it comes to fruition.
Okay. All right, Jeff Duncan, new book, Peyton and Brees, The Men Who Built the Greatest Offense in NFL History. He's with the Athletic Saints Insider. He joins us on the Modelo guest line. Jeff, how long have you covered the Saints?
21 years and a long time, Bo. You're dating me.
Okay, so 21 years. So you got to see some bad offensive football. Now, let's talk about Peyton and Brees and their relationship. We see what's happened in Seattle, Jeff. There looks like a disconnect between a defensive-minded coach, a good one, but a defensive-minded coach and Russell Wilson. Packers have always, I don't know, the Rodgers-Packers front office thing, head coach, Brady and Belichick, it didn't end well. Deshaun's frustrated. Obviously, they have other things going on, but he's frustrated. You can't ever really figure out if Gruden will get in bed, so to speak, with the QB, right? I mean, he kind of dances with Carr or whatever. How, the pressure having covered this franchise for 21 years. You see it weekly. You know the pressure in the building for an NFL franchise, how hard it is to win. Talk about how remarkable it is that they were able to stay on the same page for that long, Brees and Peyton, for that long, considering the pressure in the NFL to win on Sundays.
Well, I think it's remarkable. We've never seen anything like that in NFL history. A quarterback and head coach together for a decade and a half and being that successful. And Bo, I interviewed a lot of people, including Peyton and Brees, a lot for the book, and asked them many times, okay, this could not have been all kumbaya. There had to be times where you all butted heads. There had to be, some browbeating behind closed doors, and they insisted they never had that. I think it's because both of them were such good communicators. Sean Payton was a communication major in college. He's excellent at communicating. He believes in the Parcells school of conflict. You get it out on the table. You talk about it. You don't ever let it fester and develop into something. And Drew Brees is excellent at that way too. And I think also Drew Brees' greatest influence in his life was his grandfather, who was a decorated World War II veteran. Drew Brees very much believes in a military-style chain of command, and he respects that the coaching position, and that he's a player, and there's a line there. So as close as they got over the years, and as much as they respect each other, he always understood Sean Payton was the coach, I'm the quarterback, and I need to listen to him. And if it comes down to a debate, he's going to win. He's the coach. So I think that respect level from Drew was a key part of their success, because a lot of players, as we see now, are becoming more and more emboldened to kind of use their influence to make decisions that normally a coach or front office would. Drew Brees would never cross that line because of his upbringing.
Okay. Wow, it's fascinating. Jeff Duncan, new book, Peyton and Brees, The Men Who Built the Greatest Offense in NFL History. Okay, so 90-something% of their relationship was really good. You mentioned the ability to communicate and get it all out. What did you get anything in the book when there are a lot of people, you know better than I do, and you may disagree, that Sean may have gotten a big head after the Super Bowl. And then there were some things that happened. He gets suspended for a year. 3 straight 7-9 seasons, Jeff, in the prime of Brees' career. Even through all that, were there some tough times, or were Brees and Peyton still locked in? Do you hit on any of that in the book?
Oh, yes, I definitely do. I have a whole chapter on that period of time, that 2014 to 2016 period where the team was 7-9 each season, because I wanted to touch on, what could have led to this potential divorce of this great marriage. And that period was a key one, because Sean Payton was almost out the door. He almost left the New Orleans Saints. I don't think people realize how close it was to him leaving, and that would have ended this partnership, the historic partnership. We'd have missed a lot of these great moments because Sean Payton would not have been around for them. And look, Sean Payton will be the first to tell you he definitely kind of let his guard down. He exhaled in the pressure. You talk about being an NFL head coach. I think it's natural human nature to kind of, once you've reached the mountaintop, to relax. And he let a lot of details slip, a lot of things that he, believed in, he let slide. And I think there were some things going on in his personal life. He was going through a divorce off the field. I think all those things influenced him. And I think it would have led to him leaving New Orleans if it wasn't for Mickey Loomis, who, as the general manager, understood that Sean Payton is a great head coach. Yes, he can be high maintenance and difficult to deal with, especially behind closed doors. I don't think people realize that there's a lot of stories in the book, in that chapter, that I think will open people's eyes. They've not been reported about things that went on in the Saints organization. And if it wasn't for someone that was more selfless, that was as selfless and egoless as Mickey Loomis, I think Sean Payton would be coaching elsewhere as opposed to New Orleans, because it took someone like Loomis to step back and kind of smooth over that situation and realize we're not going to find a better coach than Sean Payton. Let's work through this. And it worked. It came out to the other side, and they stayed together. And look, they overhauled the defensive coaching staff. That was difficult to do for a head coach who's loyal to his assistants. They overhauled the personnel department, brought in Jeff Ireland.
Yes.
They had that historic draft in 2017 and built the core of another Super Bowl contender with that draft.
That is fascinating. Jeff Duncan on the Out of Bounds show, his new book, Peyton and Brees, The Men Who Built the Greatest Offense in NFL History. Jeff joins us on the Modelo guest line, talking Saints, both the Sean Brees relationship and then life after Brees. You hit on something there. So Mickey Loomis, expand on that. Is he the unsung hero in all this? Because he's the GM, he's the numbers cruncher, he's behind the scenes, and Drew and Sean are the stars of the franchise and the stars of New Orleans, Jeff?
Yes, I think so. I think it took someone with Mickey Loomis's unique personality and skill set to navigate this organizational hierarchy. And what I mean by that is not only do you have a strong-minded, big ego head coach in Sean Payton, who can be difficult, and he admits that, but you also had an owner that was very difficult to deal with, in Tom Benson, who worked in his own peculiar way. And it took someone like Mickey Loomis, who had the people skills and the savvy and the instincts to understand how to work both above him to the owner and below him with this head coach. And I think his personality and his quiet nature is the perfect yin to the yang of Sean Payton, who's much more outgoing and boisterous and tempestuous up and down. I mean, Sean Payton, I write a lot about it in the book. I mean, he's got a DNA of OCD in him. He could be. I would go into some of my interviews with him, and he would want to show me a play that he had drawn up in, say, the Vikings game in 2017. And Bo, he would go down a rabbit hole, get on his laptop, and get so obsessed with finding this play to show me. And here I am trying to do this interview for the book. I know I got limited time, but it's just an example of his obsessiveness when he gets on something, and it's one of his strengths. It can also be one of his weaknesses as a coach. And I think Mickey Loomis knew how to. He understood that and had a keen instinct of like how to deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's one of the big reasons why this thing has not only been successful for a decade and a half, but also harmonious behind closed doors. When they've had issues, they've worked through them thanks to Loomis.
Wow. Jeff Duncan's new book, must read, Peyton and Breeze, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history. Jeff joins us on the Modelo guest line. You're listening to Out of Bounds on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. So, Jeff, how does that translate going forward? I mean, one of the it depends on how you want to run the numbers, but one of the four main people, one of them has passed away in Mr. Benson, but Mickey Loomis, Sean Payton, Drew Brees, now Drew's gone. How does everything you're telling us translate going forward with Sean, Loomis, and the Saints, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I think we're going to find out. It's just an unprecedented situation. Drew Brees was such a dominant presence and such a rock of stability and the perfect person at the perfect time for New Orleans and the Saints organization. It wasn't just his on-field quarterbacking ability, which obviously he was brilliant. It was his, senatorial approach to the job. He embraced being the face of the franchise. He was almost like a politician stepping to the mic and representing not only the Saints, but the city of New Orleans. You could even say the whole Gulf Coast. And so people felt proud to be a Saints fan and wear a fleur-de-lis logo and be from New Orleans. There's not a lot of people, frankly, that did that for New Orleanians. I mean, there's not a lot of people other than entertainers that made you proud to be from New Orleans. And Drew Brees did that. All of a sudden, he'd be on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and you were proud. He carried himself in a way that I think there was this class and credibility from this guy. How do they replace that? I don't know. I don't know if you ever do.
Impossible.
You might have a guy that can throw touchdown passes, but not the leader that he is. And so it's going to be fascinating to watch. I do think they have the infrastructure in place with a brilliant head coach to have maybe a more successful transition than what we've seen, say, at other organizations.
Yes.
But I think their pursuit of a quarterback to replace Drew Brees is just beginning, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they address that, not only this year but in the future.
Man, I was hoping Dak Prescott was going to end up in New Orleans and team up with Sean, because Dak has a lot of the intangibles, in my opinion, that you described about Brees. Jeff Duncan's new book, Peyton and Brees, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history. You know what's interesting about that, Jeff, is 2 summers ago, I'm at Bud and Alley's on 30A, and Loomis and Peyton are there for this deal, and I'm 20, 30 feet from them, and I'm watching them for an hour and a half, and you could tell there was genuine respect and friendship, even with all the battles and I'm sure butting head times that they've been through. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. And I think, Mickey Loomis came up in Seattle, and his philosophy as a general manager was shaped from that time out there And he fully believes that the faces of the organization of a football team need to be the head coach and the quarterback. And I think that understanding is really one of the reasons why this thing has worked so well. Because let's face it, Bo, in the NFL and major sports like this, there's a lot of egos, a lot of power trips, and Mickey Loomis will make it clear to Sean Payton behind closed doors he works for Mickey Loomis. He understands that, but he's willing to step back and let his head coach be the celebrity, if you will. And there's just not a lot of guys like that in professional sports because they all get there. It's a highly competitive industry, and so to get to the top, you have to be competitive. So it's very unique to have a guy like that, and I think Sean Payton respects it very much, and I know he does. And so I believe that respect you saw is genuine. And look, they just got back from Las Vegas, trip to Vegas, playing golf for most of the weekends, and probably a lot of other fun things for Sean Payton's bachelor weekend. He's going to get married this summer, and I know not a lot of GMs and head coaches would do that together. So I think it exemplifies how strong the relationship is right now.
That's cool. The unsung hero, the guy behind the guy for Swingers. That's the movie, by the way. But that's Mickey Loomis. So that's cool. I've only got a couple of minutes. How much fun? I know it was a grind too. And again, you're trying to interview guys that are top 1% and busy and celebrities and stars. How rewarding was writing the book, Jeff?
Oh, it was a labor of love. I mean, I learned so much. I have so much better knowledge now of how the Saints offense works. And that I'm really grateful to Sean Payton, Drew Brees for affording me all that time, and to the offensive coaching staff, Pete Carmichael and Joe Lombardi. Basically, what I wanted to do in the book was explain three things, Bo. What makes Sean Payton great? What makes Drew Brees great? Obviously, touch on their relationship together and partnership, but also how the Saints offense has been so successful. I wanted to show how the sausage is made in a given game plan, and I think readers and your listeners, if they pick up the book, after they read it, they will have a much greater appreciation into how much work and attention to detail goes into just a weekly game plan. And it's amazing the mental stamina that Drew Brees and Sean Payton possess, that unique ability to process loads of information and keep grinding. It's extraordinary. And I really get into a lot of detail into what a given week is like behind the scenes, putting together an offensive game plan. Is fascinating.
All right, I think I know the answer to this question. I've got 1 minute. Where can we've got plenty of Saints fans and NFL fans. I mean, the story that you started off with, you don't have to be a Saints fan to get into the running play and the what Breeze and ass of the coaches and so on. Where can people find the book, Jeff?
Well, your local bookstores. I know Lemuria has plenty of them.
Great bookstore.
Copies, I signed a bunch for them over there. It's an unbelievable bookstore. So I would support them, or you can get it online at Amazon.com, or you can go to my Twitter handle at @JeffDuncan_ and message me, or the Facebook page for Peyton and Breeze, and you can order online through me, and I can get you a personalized signed copy out to you. That's been very popular, Bo, because I can sign it and personalize it for a gift to somebody.
Oh, that's great.
Signature.
For a client or family member. Love it.
Yep.
All right, Jeff Duncan, new book, Peyton and Breeze, The Men Who Built the Greatest Offense in NFL History. Jeff, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Anytime, Bo. Take care, buddy.
You can find the book at Lemuria. Great bookstore in Jackson, Mississippi. One of the best in the Southeast. Also online. Follow Jeff on Twitter at JeffDuncan_. He joined us on the Modelo guest line. Hour number 3 coming up. Independent Roofing Systems is the commercial roofing company in Mississippi and the Southeast. With Independent Roofing Systems, your job will be done right the first time, no shortcuts. Independent Roofing Systems projects include the Golden Moon Casino, the Nissan plant, and the Beau Rivage. For your next commercial roofing job, call Independent Roofing Systems, 601-922-4301, or go online, roofing..